Hi, I'm Sarah Campbell, English teacher at Beckford Upper Heaton and a Bradford Research Fellow. Students with working memory challenges can be taught to use memory supporting strategies. By teaching students memory supporting strategies, educators are aiding students with working memory challenges to be more proactive with their learning. Asking for help may seem straightforward, however, students with working memory challenges could overlook this effective strategy. Not only will a student with working memory challenges need to diagnose the difficulties they are experiencing within a lesson, but they will also need to recognise that asking for help is an appropriate action. Additionally, the student then needs to remember to ask for the help they need. To aid understanding of when asking for help is the best solution, teachers can instruct students through the rehearsal of general questions which can be applicable across many contexts. Planning ahead for potential situations where asking for help would be useful. For example, asking for instructions to be repeated or asking to be reminded of a relevant page number and simply asking what to do next are all questions that can support students with working memory challenges in the classroom. This strategy may seem unnecessary to a student who is used to asking questions regularly through lessons. So it is important that this strategy is labelled clearly as one which is useful to support working memory. Asking for help needs to be used strategically to help alleviate the burden on a student's working memory. It can be paired with a memory aid, such as a checklist of general questions a student with working memory challenges may regularly need to use. This would help students who could struggle to articulate the problems they are facing. Alongside teaching students themselves about the useful strategy of asking for help at pertinent times, teachers can embed explicit reminders within lessons at appropriate points. Much like asking for help, note-taking is a common practice within educational settings, yet it can be used as an effective tool for relieving the demands on a student's working memory. So like asking for help, educators should give students with working memory challenges explicit instructions on when and how to use note-taking to their advantage. Note-taking is often thought of as a method of summarising lesson content. Instead, students with working memory challenges could implement note-taking to copy out a teacher's instructions. Instead of simply reproducing the lesson, they may employ note-taking to commit to paper a sequence of tasks the teacher has instructed the class to complete, or the page numbers they need to use for different exercises. Other examples include the creation of concept maps in primary school or graphic organisers such as fishbone diagrams in a GCSE class, which can quickly provide structure to information which may seem disparate after the lesson when content could be forgotten. Materials for note-taking should be inbuilt within a lesson, close to hand for the student that needs them, or easily accessible within the classroom to help establish a routine. Personal whiteboards, note-taking templates, digital devices, or notebooks can all be utilised by a student with working memory challenges. The idea that students with working memory challenges should take advantage of their long-term memory may seem counterintuitive. However, the benefits of using long-term memory to access and process new information are well documented. These benefits relate to two concepts: familiarity and chunking. Familiarity is information that is securely stored in long-term memory and is therefore more familiar, generally places fewer demands when it is retrieved into working memory. Chunking is if information stored in long-term memory can be chunked, then it also reduces demands on working memory. One example is the use of mnemonics, such as BIDMAS. Rather than having to remember all the separate items for solving an equation individually, if the students have learnt BIDMAS, they can retrieve that one chunk of information into working memory. So when a student in a math class is confronted with a complicated algebra problem, before they become overwhelmed with the apparent complexity of the equation, they remember BIDMAS, the easy to remember acronym for the order of operations in maths. While this alone will not solve the equation, it will provide an entry point for the student, a reminder to begin by solving the problem with brackets. This student may then tackle the problem one step at a time. Not only can students use mnemonics that are well known and readily available, but they could also be encouraged to create their own when they must remember items in a long list. Mnemonics are just one way of chunking information. Schema or webs of information are items of related information stored in long-term memory. For example, as a student becomes more familiar with information related to, for example, World War II, they will start to create a schema for World War II, where the different facts will start to link together into a schema. Once schemas become well established in long-term memory, retrieving one item from that schema can often make it easier to access other related items in that schema. Long-term memory is widely thought to have a limitless capacity, yet information within it still needs to be retrieved into the working memory. So despite the effectiveness and ease of using information in long-term memory, educators should be mindful that the constraints of working memory still apply. Rehearsing material is a strategy that works for very small amounts of information that are needed immediately. For example, a primary school teacher could ask a student to sit down at their desk, open their spelling book, and write the date and title at the top of the page. Using rehearsal, the student would repeat the instructions, either quietly or in their mind, sit at desk, spelling book out, date and title, until they had completed all tasks. A key factor in rehearsal is to avoid interruptions from other activities, as it can lose effectiveness if the amount of information is too large and the span of time between rehearsal and using the information is too long. Teaching memory supporting strategies is just one way to support students with working memory challenges.